I now have the distinct privilege and honor of introducing our visiting evangelist, Brother Kyle Butt. He's a graduate of the Freed-Hardeman University, where he earned a BA with a double major, had a major in Bible and in communications, and also a master's in New Testament. And he's using all of that good education for a good, wonderful purpose. Currently, he serves in the Bible department at Apologetics Press. He's the editor of Discover magazine, speaks frequently around the country, youth rallies, lectureships, gospel meetings, etc. He's also the author of numerous books and a very sought-after speaker in the brotherhood. This is my first opportunity to get to meet Kyle and to get to hear him preach. I know many of you have heard him in other places, and he's just very, very popular. A great gospel preacher. Has a tremendous message to tell. And now at this time, we're going to ask you to tell it.
Really, what in the world do dinosaurs have to do with the gospel, with the Bible, with Jesus, with God? We're having a gospel meeting. We are talking about dinosaurs, and we're going to be using about 2 of our hours to discuss dinosaurs. And if you have in your mind wondered why in the world we're going to spend 2 hours on dinosaurs, that's a very valid question that you have in your mind. I've been working at Apologetics Press now for going on 12 years. This is my 13th. And in those 13 years, we have answered questions that run the gamut of Christian apologetics. You're talking about the existence of God. We've done debates, answered questions on that. Inspiration of the Bible, deity of Christ. The biggest questions in the world we deal with. But do you know what is the most often asked question, to my knowledge, at Apologetics Press? What about the dinosaurs? That's what everybody wants to know about. How in the world can you fit dinosaurs into the Bible? In fact, many people grew up understanding or being taught that dinosaurs never really existed, that they were something that evolutionists and atheists made up, and they were used to teach evolution, but they weren't ever really real creatures. They were just made up. The generation of about age 45 to about 60, many of the people in that generation were taught that dinosaurs did not exist. Almost every time that I go to a congregation and I mention that, someone will come up to me afterward and say, yeah, you know what, I was taught growing up that dinosaurs didn't exist. I didn't know that they did until I was 35, 40. My mother was teaching a ladies' class right outside of Columbia, Tennessee. She had 13 ladies there. The preacher that was before the one who was there when she was teaching the ladies' class, that preacher had stood up and explained to the entire congregation that dinosaurs never existed and that they were a figment of the evolutionary imagination and that they were just used to teach Satan's false doctrine. Now, evolution and atheism certainly are wrong, but the idea that dinosaurs never existed is patently false. Dinosaurs did exist. They certainly were very, very real, and I'm going to show you that. And I'm also going to show you that there is no problem for a person who believes in the Bible and for a person who believes in dinosaurs to understand how the two fit together if they have all the information. Unfortunately, generally speaking, most people don't have all the information. They've gotten their information from one side, and most of the time that's the evolutionary side, and so they come to the problem of the dinosaurs without the complete story. I was reading an email from a lady just, I'm going to say it was a few months ago. She wrote to us, and she said, my teenagers now, she had a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old from what I remember from the email. She said, they are straying from the faith. And she said, dinosaurs were where I started to lose them. Can you believe that? Dinosaurs were where she started to lose her teenagers from the faith. Now here's what the situation is. Dinosaurs are exciting. Really, they very much are. If you're going to start looking at something like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, his name means king, tyrant, lizard. The Tyrannosaurus Rex had a skull that was about a foot longer than that table, had a skull that had 60 razor-sharp serrated teeth. Some of those teeth were 13 inches long. He could, they estimate, bite off a single chunk of meat that weighed 500 pounds in one bite. That would be about the first 2 complete rows here he could take care of people in a single bite. He was about 20 feet tall at the hip, so you're looking at, right at that ceiling. That's how tall his hips were. He was about 46 feet long from tip to tail. So 46 feet is what, about 15 yards. So you can let 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you're looking at from that post to this post, that's how long he was from tip to tail. From his hip bone, he stood about the height of this building, had a skull that was 5.5 feet long and could bite off 500 pounds of meat in a single bite. Now that's exciting, isn't it? I mean, who wouldn't want to hear about a creature like that? And that's just the king tyrant lizard. If I were to tell you about the Apatosaurus, that could weigh 126 tons and grow to be 116 feet long, almost twice as long as the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Could step on a SUV out there and make it look like a pancake that you would eat for breakfast. Now that is exciting, isn't it? And because dinosaurs are so exciting, they have been used to teach some very false things. Now let's look at some of those things. This is an oatmeal package. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, my oatmeal didn't come in individual little wrap packages. Growing up, my mom made oatmeal in a pan that was about this thick. And when you tried to spoon it out, you just spooned the whole thing out. It just came all out in one little thing. Made that suction-y sound too. And then she plopped it into your bowl, and what we didn't eat, she just took out to the horse and fed. And you know, I always thought there was a problem with that. If the horse could eat the same thing I was eating for breakfast, then well, of course, no, that's not exactly what happened. But you know, you try to put butter and sugar on it and then drown it in milk so you didn't realize you were eating oatmeal. That's what we did at my house. Well, now they've got these cute little individually wrapped packages of oatmeal. They come pre-sweetened with little pieces of fruit so that you can try to forget that you're eating oatmeal because it's individually wrapped. But then they give you some fossil fun and a factosaurus. And they tell you about this. How big was Tyrannosaurus Rex? All right, 47 feet long. Yeah, that's very interesting. Now watch this. On what continent did dinosaurs first appear? Now this is just a standard run-of-the-mill oatmeal package. Seems like a pretty simple, innocent question, doesn't it? On what continent did they first appear? But then when you read the answer, trick question, all the continents were together during the early Triassic period. Who in here knows when the early Triassic period was? You see, the early Triassic period was supposedly 250 million years ago. And then the dinosaurs supposedly came on the scene 250 million years ago and died out 65 million years ago. According to the evolutionary scenario, when did humans arrive on the scene? Oh, not till, what, about 3 million years ago, and that's only in one shape, form, or fashion, not real humans. That was the proto-human hominids, etc. So supposedly humans are supposed to be separated from dinosaurs by 60 million years. So why is that a problem? Well, you go back to Genesis chapter 1. In Genesis chapter 1, the Bible says that on day 6, God made all of the land-living creatures. What was Tyrannosaurus Rex? Land-living creature. What was Apatosaurus? Land-living creature. If God made all the land-living creatures on day 6, and He made animals that were land-living on day 6, and humans on day 6, Adam and Eve, then that means humans and dinosaurs weren't separated by 60 million years. The most they could have been separated by was a few hours on the 6th day of creation. You're starting to see the problem. You see, anybody who adopts the evolutionary idea that dinosaurs were separated from humans by 60 million years, when they come to Genesis chapter 1, they're going to have to find something to do with Genesis chapter 1. They're going to have to say, well, maybe those days were millions of years. They're not. We're going to look at that Sunday. Or they're going to have to say, well, maybe the Bible just didn't have it right. And unfortunately, many people do reject the Bible because they don't think it teaches right about dinosaurs. But what I'm going to show you is that they do that because they haven't seen all the scientific evidence. They have not really seen the fact that humans and dinosaurs did live together. The Bible has been right all along. They weren't separated by millions of years. In fact, there never were millions of years. The earth is only a few thousand years old, and that fits perfectly with everything we know to be scientific fact. Now, not everything you're told is scientific fact, but everything we know to be scientific fact, that fits perfectly. Let's see how else we are told dinosaurs and humans were separated by millions of years. You get